Hi, and welcome to the In the Hot Seat podcast, where you get the best of pro wrestling, pop culture, reviews, and interviews, and so much more. We are on Anchor and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and check out the socials as well. Until then, welcome everyone to the In the Hot Seat podcast with your host, Daphne Rivera. Alright, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to the episode of the In the Hot Seat podcast. And for today's episode, I will be talking about WWE for Survivor Series. And with this one, where we had the return and the debut for the main roster, and that is for War Games. And getting right down into it, there is no kickoff matches at all, so we just get right down into it. What I thought happened, and as well what happened exactly, and what went down. So getting right down to it, and where we open things off, of course, with the War Games match in itself for the women in this one, where we had Team Bianca Belair, which of course had Bianca Belair herself, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Mia Yim, and of course the returning Becky Lynch, which definitely makes sense. I wasn't too sure if I'm going to see a returning Sasha Banks on this one, but it could have been really anyone else, especially Candice LeRae. I thought would have been also just as cool, but we had Becky Lynch being able to come back for this team. Becky Lynch was able to team with Bianca Belair as of recently, especially towards around SummerSlam time. So that definitely made sense. And then when we had Damage Control and dealing with, of course, Bailey, Dakota Kai, as well Io Sky, Nikki Cross, and as well Rhea Ripley being added to the match, and has been awesome to see her be in the mix with Damage Control, let alone Nikki Cross being more of herself again. She's not dealing with the superhero gimmick, and now she's basically to a more crazy self, kind of like with Sanity. So I really like that version of her, and her being added into this match and everything made it worth the while. We did see a lot in this one, being able to see Io Sky do her dive up from the top of the cage, which was really cool. We see weapons being involved in everything, and a lot of history with everyone, as we have Becky being able to make her appearance in the video if you're watching the YouTube version. With that being said, it really could have went either or, and I would have been okay with it, but being able to have Bianca Belair and as well her team being able to get the win is fair enough for me, and being able to see what happens next for Damage Control and what's going to be happening with them. I'm sure they get involved with everyone else. I'm sure Bailey will deal with Becky and so on and so forth, and we'll see what happens. Miriam being able to come back, which is awesome to be able to see her more as herself, and being able to see what she can really do this time, which is really awesome and well worth it to see that. So I really enjoyed that, and being able to see the women's War Games match being able to be one of my favorites for sure. So it was really awesome. Definitely an exciting match to start things off. I would have preferred it more as the main event, but having it be the opener, which was really interesting there. So a very strong start. Uh, then we get into AJ Styles and Finn Balor on this one. Of course, with the Judgment Day being there, the rest of them, besides Rhea Ripley, because she was able to deal with the War Games match, so that's understandable why she wasn't there. But AJ Styles having the rest of the OC with them there, so there's those elements added to it. Basically, they were able to get it to a brawl after AJ Styles and Finn Balor being able to go at it to see who would be the better. Uh, basically original basically captains basically of the Bullet Club and everything. So there was a lot added to this. I really like that AJ Styles was able to add back his mask for his entrance, and Finn Balor had his own unique mask and everything for that. Getting into that as a side note, basically. So seeing that was very interesting in terms of the entrances and everything. Finn Balor basically almost at one point trying to get the win, feeling confident, but AJ Styles was able to come back, get his win, which was definitely well needed, and it's crazy. Not Finn Balor, but AJ Styles hasn't really won a match and for pay-per-view wise in a long time, so that was really wild to me, and being able to have that there and being able to have him win a pay-per-view match, which is really well worth it. So the right person won. So I feel like this would definitely continue, especially between the stables, and I actually seen them go at it again, which would be something to see what happens next. So we don't have a pay-per-view, no TLC for next month, which is kind of weird. Gonna get used to that, but I'm okay with that, and I know the gimmick like pay-per-views are looking to be going away very soon. So basically, all we have for next month is deadline for NXT on that. So that should be interesting to see where things go. And of course, we got Tribute to the Troops, but that's more of a special, really, not so much of a pay per view. But then we get into the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Ronda Rousey and Shotzi. I felt like this would have been Shotzi's time to actually get the SmackDown Women's title, and it's really nice to actually see her in this element too as well. She did her best against Ronda Rousey, and Ronda Rousey was able to somehow be able to retain her title and everything, of course, with the support of Shayna Baszler there as well. So I'm sure they kind of feels like to me they want to be able to not only be part as tag team again, but possibly want to get more gold, maybe the women's tag team titles later on. I can see that happening, and Shayna really waking up Ronda Rousey again, being able to be more, the ass kicker and everything else, and how dominant they used to be, especially together. So we'll see what happens with that, and I hope I hope Shotzi definitely does get the title sometime later on. That'd be really awesome to see that. Then we get into the triple threat match, which I thought it should have been a fatal four-way with Mustafa Ali, but it was a triple threat match for the United States title. Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, and of course for Seth Rollins being the champion going into this. Basically having his hair up kind of like how it used to be. He's more basically as a baby face, especially going into the anniversary of the Shield. So we were able to have that be mentioned. So having the Shield be able to make their debut in 2012, which is really awesome to be able to see that and how things were able to turn around for them, having their destruction and everything, and be one of the cool stables in WWE for sure. I'm definitely one of my favorites. So being able to have that going as well. But this match definitely surprised me the most. I didn't think it was going to be this awesome to be able to see all three of these guys, to see who wants the United States title more, and Seth Rollins doing everything that he can to keep his title. You saw basically Bobby Lashley showing his frustration, how he wanted to be basically in a way wanting a singles match, I guess, more than dealing with a triple threat match. So we saw more of his frustration. Austin Theory losing his briefcase beforehand. So things were in question to see if he was gonna see where things go and everything. So he was able to show that he doesn't need the briefcase and he can do a lot more without it. So that it really bothered him. So he's basically, you know, going to be built down to be built back up. Basically, that was definitely shown in Austin Theory actually getting back the United States Championship at Survivor Series. So really crazy how things turned about there. So I would like to see Austin Theory feud with Mustafa Ali, and of course they can still deal with Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins for the United States title, and to see the U.S. title be where it's supposed to be and where it always should have been, and be more of an important title that anyone would want to win. So that's really cool to be able to see that be more built up, much like the Intercontinental Championship, the IC Championship. So that was really definitely one of my favorite matches for sure. And then we get into the main event, the War Games match, the second one for the men this time. And we had, of course, the Bloodline dealing with Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jey Uso. Of course, Sami Zayn as well, Solo Sikoa on this one. Of course, we had the Brawling Brutes where we had Sheamus, Butch, Rich Holland, Drew McIntyre, and of course Kevin Owens coming back and being able to want to help out for the Brawling Brutes. So that was really awesome how he was able to be a part of the actual team and everything, and to be able to have that happen and to see how he would do against Roman and everything. Like how Roman basically was able to take his time and being able to wait things out, let everyone else go ahead of him, and he was able to be basically the final person into the match and everything. The storytelling has been really cool, especially with Sami Zayn, to see how loyal he really is to the Bloodline. We did get to see the tables being added into this and everything. So we did get to see basically weapons in this one as well. Drew McIntyre wanted his payback and retribution, everything that he's been through. Same thing with Sheamus and all that. So, besides all the bullshit that they went through, so they were able to try and stop the Bloodline at all costs. But in the end, we did have the Bloodline actually get the win. Sami Zayn actually stopping Kevin Owens and everything. So, not too sure where things are going to be going from here. I felt like over time, Sami Zayn will align himself back with Kevin Owens. I feel like that still could happen, depending how Roman Reigns actually truly feels about Sami Zayn still. But it looks like they were able to hug things out afterwards. So once they won and everything, so yeah, that was it with the Survivor Series and everything else that went down. And having War Games be back has been really cool. Hopefully, they'll actually keep War Games for Survivor Series unless they switch it up. In a way, I actually miss the traditional Survivor Series tag team elimination match, but basically having it being that, but with War Games, so it was a nice added touch, and to be able to see this on the main roster, I felt like other people who haven't seen War Games before were able to enjoy it. So I think I will stick around, especially once you get possibly other stables involved, or you can see other things come into the mix and see how things transpire. So it's really cool to actually see War Games on the main roster. So I really enjoyed Survivor Series for this year. So those are my thoughts. What are your own thoughts? Be sure to leave it in the comment section. If you're watching the YouTube video version, if you want to be able to continue the discussion, definitely check out the Twitter page as well and the other socials, and we can definitely continue the discussion for Survivor Series. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and that about does it for this episode for the In the Hot Seat podcast. So for the video version, leave a like, subscribe, and as well hit the notification bell to stay notified for the In the Hot Seat podcast. Be sure to check out, of course, the website as well, where you can definitely see the video and as well the audio version of the In the Hot Seat podcast as well, if you want to be a guest on the show and be able to talk about not just pro wrestling but pop culture or whatever have you, and you can be a guest on the In the Hot Seat podcast as well. So until next time, I'll catch you guys for another episode of the In the Hot Seat podcast.